I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 412. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. How are you today? Well, I'll tell you what. I can hardly believe it. It's still winter here in the Midwest. It's a beautiful spring-like day, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And what I want to do before I go take advantage of it is give you a great recording that I did a couple years ago. It's one of my most valued podcasts, and I was going to do it because I just found my notes on it. And I was going to do it again for you today, but I figured I already did it and it's already so good that I just want to share that recording with you again. And it's on what to do when you have joy, how to create it. It's everything I love. And I did it with a teacher, and you'll hear all about it in this recording, but it's an actual class that I did with another Buddhist teacher. And I'm not going to give it all away because I want you to listen to this, but I'm going to give you 3 steps on how to get that mind of yours towards joy. So whatever you do when you're listening to my podcast, if you're walking or driving, or maybe like me, taking a bubble bath, enjoy this most valuable podcast that I did on joy. Well, hello, all my dear friends. How are you today all over the world? It's a beautiful, sunny, cold day here today, and it is my sister Katie's birthday today, and we have plans to go out into the woods. We're going to have a lovely meal together with my other sisters and really just enjoy my sister. I feel so blessed to have 3 sisters that we all live in the same area. My mom, who's 91, she is with us too. And you probably, if you've heard my podcast before, you probably know this about me, but it's my sister Katie's birthday today. So if she's listening to this podcast, which I don't think she is, maybe she will now that if I tell her I mention her. Happy birthday, Katie. I love you. Anywho, about my sisters and about her birthday and about what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, so one of my very favorite topics to talk about, if you didn't know, is joy. And maybe you know this about me, maybe you don't know this about me, but I am a student of Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist, but I do follow a lot of Buddhist teachers and do a lot of silent retreats with them. And I've done this for many, many years. It's a way for me to become more mindful. It's a way for me to make friends with myself. It's a way for me to love myself. And it's a way for me to be able to become a teacher to you. And the reason that I'm telling you this today is because one of those teachers is doing a course right now, and I am in that course. And I want to talk to you about it a little bit today. And I want to talk a little bit about him today too. And so his name is James Baraz, and he wrote a book called Awakening Joy. Do you not love that name? And I did an in-person retreat when we used to do those, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And seriously, it was really one of my favorite retreats because what he did, he is a teacher of Buddhism, but he found a way to use the Buddhist principles to teach about the feeling of joy. So needless to say, this really was one of my favorite online retreats. And he also wrote a book called Awakening Joy, which I also loved. And he gives simple steps with how to create more joy in you every day. My favorite thing, I have worksheets in my companion book that you can always get and download anytime you want by going to drdebbutler.com/change. And in the workbook, I do have a worksheet and questions on joy. But here he takes a little bit of a different angle, and I want to share it with you because I think it will help you. Now, I will tell you this podcast is not going to be as much about urges, and it's not going to be that much about food, even though many of you use food as a way of finding joy. And of course, really what I want to say about that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit about the way James talks about it, is that eating something that tastes really good is a lovely experience and it can be a joyful experience. But there are so many ways to create joy. And that's what I want to talk about today is how do you create it and how do you sustain it? And I think James has the answer. So even if you're not taking the course, which is already started, but you can always get the book, Awakening Joy, and know a little bit about what I'm talking about right now. And his first thing that he talks about, he says that there are 3 steps to helping yourself awaken joy. And the first step is, now I really want you to listen to this because this is really what I'm going to have you do in this next week is you're going to really concentrate on this feeling of joy that I'm talking about. But he talks about that the first step of being able to create more joy is number 1, noticing when you feel it. Because here's the thing, what most of us tend to do, we tend to ignore the positive and accentuate the negative. It's just kind of the way our brain works. It's a negative bias. The way our primary brain works is that it's always looking for the possibility of something going wrong and protecting us. So there is a negativity bias in our brain to look for the negative. So knowing that, what James talks about is that that's not the only thing the brain does, right? Because there is an array of emotions. And in Buddhism, one of the things they talk about when they talk about emotions, they talk about the idea of well-meaning feelings that make you feel good. The 2 states of emotions that he talks about from the Buddhist psychology is a healthy state and an unhealthy state. And basically, healthy states are the feelings of joy, happiness, love, all of those things that feel very good in your body. And the unhealthy states are more negative emotions, sadness, anger, clinginess, avoidance, resistance. And I think it's just interesting to note from a Buddhist philosophy that those are 2 different states and that we have control over those states by noticing when we're in them. Now, a lot of the things that I talk about when I talk about emotions, I talk about positive emotions and negative emotions. And I talk about that we really need to feel all of them. But when James talks about this, and he talks in more of the Buddhist philosophy, he talks about how we want to create more of the idea of creating states of more well-being and how we do that. Now, you know from the way that I've taught you that thoughts create feelings. So you can create any feeling you want with a thought that you believe. But sometimes things happen and the thought that you think is going to create a negative emotion. And I think that's okay too. But for the purpose of this, I want you to think of what he's talking about how to create and sustain more joy in your life. So the first step is noticing when you have that sense of well-being, that sense of joy. You notice what it feels like in your body. I talk about that a lot, about once you know a feeling, can you feel it in your body? Where is it? For instance, for me, this well-being, this joy feeling feels like butterflies. And it's like in the upper diaphragm, in my diaphragm, and it kind of moves up into my chest and it's kind of flittery and fluttery, really like butterflies going up and down. And it makes me almost want to jump up and down. It's a wonderful feeling. I love to feel it. But here's what he says. First, you have to notice that it's there. Because this is the thing. A lot of times we don't put enough attention on this to even know that we're feeling it. So the first thing is, first we notice when we're feeling it. Now, once you notice that you have this sense of well-being, then the second step becomes how to embellish it, how to sustain it, how to prolong it. Like once you know that it's there, what does your mind want to do? Now, let me tell you what my mind likes to do is when it's on something and there's like, for instance, I had a beautiful morning with my husband this morning. It was an intimate, beautiful morning. And I felt the feeling that I'm talking about with you right now. And I want to admit something to you that I felt that feeling for a little bit. And then I noticed my mind going off into a list of other things that I needed to do. And I could feel that feeling going away because I am purposely watching this. And as soon as I noticed my mind drifting off, I brought it back to the joy that I was feeling a second ago. And it came right back. And I just sat with it and felt it. And it was like taking a bath in joy. It was there. And it was so easy for my mind to go, okay, enough of that. Let's move on. When really, if we want our brain to help us feel more joy, then we really have to point it and say, yes, that's exactly what I want you to do by really putting your attention on it. In other words, don't miss it. A lot of times we miss it because they're fast and we're on to something else. And it's so interesting because with emotions that are more negative, we tend to want to stay on them longer. Have you ever noticed that? You know, we like to create drama with negative emotions and we like to stay on them and we can feel them in our bodies and we just keep telling ourselves stories that create the negative emotion. Our brains are pretty good at that. But what we're talking about when we're talking about awakening joy is we do the opposite. We start purposely when we're in that feeling, keep ourselves there for as long as we can. We notice it, we stay with it, we feel it, and then we let it go when it's ready to go. We don't try to hold on to it either, because if we start holding on to it, then we become graspy. And that's the whole point. We don't want to create a negative emotion, graspiness. We want to stay with the joy. When it's ready to go, we want to let it go. It won't stay forever. But when it's there, notice it, stay with it, and embrace it. So, step one is notice that you're feeling the emotion, just like I did this morning. And just like I noticed that I started going off to the races, but I brought myself back. So, step two is embracing the emotion and allowing yourself to feel how good it feels to feel good. In other words, don't miss that feeling. Now, the more you point your brain towards this and the more you tell your brain how good it feels to feel good, our brains love pleasure. It will help you start looking for it. Now, the third step that you do to help increase the awareness and the feeling of joy is to incline your mind towards the good. Because this is the truth about our brains, is that there's that negativity bias and our brains like to go towards the negative. But in this, what I'm saying is if you notice that your mind is going towards the negativity, which it likes to do, can you point it to something else? Now, the more you do it, the more your brain will do it for you. So here's an exercise that he gave us by an author of the book. I can't remember the name of the book, but the author's name was Rick Hanson. And I know he's pretty big in the Buddhist and psychology philosophy. But here's an exercise that he said to do. And I think that it would be a wonderful thing for all of you to try for this next week, because joy, seriously, does not come from things as much as it comes from our minds. And our minds are under our control, and we're not controlling it the way that we could. So here's the step. I love this because this is exactly what I'm going to do this week. This is my homework, and I'm going to share it with you. And the other thing I want to mention is I'm talking about this, that in my group that I'm doing, we're in like our 10th week. And right now we're talking about joy, and we're talking about creating joy, and we're talking about feeling joy. And I'm so glad that I'm studying this at this point in time because I'm adding even more than I had before about joy. So here's this exercise, and I'm offering it to my group this week too. And even though you're not in this group, you are going to be the beneficiary of this exercise. So this is what he says to do. Number one, when you feel a moment of well-being, and I'm going to give my example of this morning with my husband. I had this wonderful sense of joy and well-being and connection. When you notice it, stay with it for 15 seconds. So now you have something very, very specific to do. And 15 seconds isn't very long, except when you're pointing your mind towards something that it's not used to doing. But if you do this, like for instance, for me, once I brought myself back, once I remembered that my homework is what I'm telling you is, oh, no, I'm not going back that way and starting to click off my list. I'm coming back to this feeling. And I just sat with the feeling. It was right there, and I sat with it. And I felt like I was taking a bath in it. And I did it for at least 15 seconds. I think if you really put a timer on, you might kind of take away from the moment. But I think it might be interesting to do it just to see what 15 seconds feels like for you. But what you do every day is you notice this sense of well-being. And when you notice it, you sit with it for 15 seconds and you do it 6 times a day. So, you can put something on your phone as a reminder. And the reminder is, I don't want to forget to find more joy today. Or how can I find more joy? So my intention for this course basically is I want to find and embrace more joy every day. That's just what I want to do. You can use it too if you want. It's a beautiful thing to give your mind to do. So if you put something on your phone 6 times a day, which is just a reminder, don't forget what we're looking for today. And when you find that sense, when you feel that feeling, that joyful feeling, for me, the butterfly feeling, you stay with it for 15 seconds and then you let it go. And he says that if you do this 6 times a day, which is 90 seconds a day, it will change your state of emotion and mind over 2 weeks. So 90 seconds a day to totally change and to feel more joyful in 2 weeks. And I really do think it's very possible because what you're doing is you're strengthening your neural pathways. And as we all know, that neurons that fire together wire together. And that's the way we strengthen neural pathways. So what do you think for this week? So what I'm saying to you is you're starting your own process of awakening joy in you by number 1, noticing when you're feeling it. 2, embracing the feeling for as long as it's there. And of course, because we're doing this homework, you can go for 15 seconds, but you embrace it. You don't miss it. You notice how good it feels. You even say to yourself, it feels so good to feel so good. It's almost like your awareness is noticing how good it feels, right? So your body is feeling it, and then your own awareness, the observer, is noticing the feeling. And then the third thing that we're doing is we're inclining our mind to joy. We're inclining our mind to look for the good. And with the extra exercise, we are noticing that when we feel this moment, we sustain it for 15 seconds, 6 times a day. So we're going for 90 seconds every day of feeling joy for at least 2 weeks. And I just want you to notice if you feel any different after 2 weeks. And I'll let you know as I do this. But hey, what else is there in life if you can't really embrace these feelings? And here's the thing, that the more you allow yourself to feel these feelings, the more you're going to feel them. The more you tell your brain you like them and it feels good, the more your brain's going to help you. So what do you say? For this week, I want you to go find more joy, feel more joy, and see if it makes a difference in your own self-care. I don't think there is a better way of self-care than helping your mind find more joy every day. So that's what I want you to do. And I would love to hear from you if you do it. And of course, no matter what else you do this week, I mean, finding joy is pretty good if you ask me. But also, while you're finding joy and feeling joy and sustaining joy, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. It should be easier when you're feeling more joyful. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change. CHANGE.